Hi, welcome to another episode of The Pebble. And today we are talking to my lovely friend, Alan Henessy. And he is absolutely my favorite Irishman. And we will be talking about just how much positivity changes your life and the world. And he is definitely in step in every way with my feelings about those things. And really, to me, the living embodiment of the pebbles. So, Alan, if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and talk about what you do, and then we'll get rolling on our thoughts about the importance of smiles and kindness and go from there.
No problem. Well, first off, Tracy, thank you so much for inviting me on to the Pebble. I really am looking forward to this. And yes, so my name is Alan Hennessy. I am the digital mentor. I help people to navigate the digital landscape. I'm also a best-selling author, podcaster, and a NLP master. So for people who don't know what NLP is, it's neuro-linguistic programming. So how the mind works. So yes, I have a master's in that. But yeah, so that's in a nutshell what I do. I do a lot more other bits and pieces, but I could be here for an hour talking about that. So we'll just carry on, as they say.
Well, I can personally recommend the book because I'm an owner. I was one of the first to snap it up when it went on the market. And yes, he is officially a bestseller. So, round of applause for that. But yes, I love Alan. He and I met via a mastermind group that we work with Cami Hausa, who's been a previous guest. And so, as I've spoken about in previous episodes with the Pebble, it is weird and wild how the world can bring us together, but that's one of the beauties of it, is that we get the opportunity to meet people that we might not otherwise have the opportunity and learn from each other. And I definitely get the great opportunity to learn with and from Alan. And he has a great skill set as a professional, but he also is just a beautiful soul. And to me, that is the best teacher in the world. That's what I learn most from is people who choose to be vulnerable and offer up themselves. Because as we had a discussion earlier and he shared something that touched me, he said, we don't wake up to just choose to be the best in the day. We just wake up to live our lives. And he chooses to try to put a smile on other people's faces. And that is literally my goal. And so I was like, he is what the Pebble is about. So that is why he is my guest today. And I would like, to talk about the bigger picture on how we take that to what I literally believe is the essence of how we change the world. And I know some people might scoff at that and think that's Pollyanna, but I don't think it's Pollyanna. And I think you and I share that belief that
Mm,
um, it is possible to make the world better with that thought that these are, it isn't impossible to change a world that can seem broken with the simple thought of helping other people smile.
yeah, and it is. It's so true. It really is. And at the end of the day, we can't change everything in this world, but what we can do is we can put it out there that with positivity and look, Tracy, I'm a very feet on the ground guy. And I'm not like but I do understand that there is you know a bigger being. There's more to life than just work and sleep and money and stuff like that. And I think at the end of the day, we're brought up in a way that we show respect to each other, and that should never change.
Mhm.
And there's so many people out there that, you know, a smile can change a day. It can change anything, and it really can. And it's the simplest of things. It doesn't cost a penny. It
Yeah.
doesn't cost you anything.
Nothing.
Just raise your cheeks and just smile at someone. And you know, there is some people out there that say, oh, he's a bit cuckoo, he's a bit la, you know, he smiles at everyone. But I believe that, you know, if you smile at someone, it brightens up their day. No matter how bad their day is, it will brighten it up. And you know, I've always gone through life and saying, if I can make one person either smile or laugh a day, my job is done.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as it is. Because I think what we do is we forget, you know, as we get older and as we start to have more things going on in our lives, we forget the simplest of things. The simplest of things can change everything. And in order for that to happen, we have to change. Before we can change anyone else or help anyone else, we've got to help ourselves. We've got to look first at ourselves, because if we're not happy, like I can go around with a smile on my face and be the most depressed person in the world, but I'm not being true to the people that are around me. I'm not being true to the person I'm smiling at. So you've got to be happy with yourself and be comfortable in your own skin first before you can start to do this. And you might say, well, how do I do that? Well, my suggestion is that you step out of yourself and you take a look and you take a bit of stuff, you take time to just look at yourself and see, okay, well, what makes me happy? And do more of that. And what makes me sad, or what makes me annoyed or angry, or, you know, or under pressure or whatever, well, try and reduce it. You're not going to get rid of it because nobody can. But what you can do is you can reduce it, and you can put measures in place and you can put things in place that will change this. So if you can start to do that, then you can start to help others. And as I said, it doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be any great big deal. It can be, as I said, just a simple smile or make someone laugh. And when you do that, it changes the world, because what happens there is that person goes on and does it to someone else. And then all of a sudden there's a ripple effect. So this is where I'm saying, and I know that may sound very simplistic and say, oh, well, look, I have so much going on in my life. And say, okay, if you have not got 5 seconds to smile at someone. So wherever you are, if you're watching this now, even smile yourself when yeah, you notice the difference? The difference is unbelievable. And that's as simple as that. And then once you start doing that, it starts to grow and you start to enjoy it and you start to go, okay, you know, life is tough. And I'm not saying that it's not, because everyone goes through it. But at the same token, if you can shine a light or spread a bit of happiness, it's going to change. It changes everything. It changes you. It changes so
Every,
much, you know. And
everything.
as you say, it's the pebble in the water that sends a ripple effect out.
It's literally one of those things, and that's like the third time I've said literally. I just heard myself. But it is the thing that it is, you can't say you don't have enough money for, and you can't say you don't have enough time for, because you can be walking, you can be working, you can be on the phone, you can be doing anything except maybe eating, and certainly drinking is a little difficult. Those are the two things that maybe you can't do and smile. But you don't need money in your account. You can be completely broke and smile, and you can be doing almost anything and smile. So your time and your money do not affect the ability to smile at anyone else or at
I was
yourself.
I was talking to a friend of mine. He helps the homeless. And that's what he does. He goes out in the evening, he helps the homeless, and he does the, you know, like the soup runs and stuff like that, and you know, like, so things like that. And he was telling me a story. I was this a couple of years back. He was talking to this man. He was very disheveled, and he was talking to him about his life, and he was telling him why he was homeless, and you know, the things. And he says, "Do you not find it lonely?" He says, "Do you not do that?" He says, "No, because when someone smiles at me, I go off into a different world. I don't have to be in the world that I'm in at the moment. I can go off into a different place in my mind." So he says, "My journeys are endless." And I just thought to myself, isn't that just a wonderful way to look at things? To be able just to take that time and just move away and just, and I'm not saying to be homeless, but what I'm saying is to be able to, in your own mind, just to step out and go, okay, I can be wherever I want in the world. And I've heard that in other scenarios from other people in different ways, but that really struck me, and it's something that stuck with me, and I went, that's a very interesting concept." So, you know, and I think that's, most creative people are like that because they see more than what's in front of them. Do you know that type
Yeah.
of way?
And that's, I think that's what it comes down to too, is there is not a culture in this world that doesn't smile, and it opens you up to others in a different way. And
Kindness. Yeah.
yeah, it's, and I'm a kindness always person, first off, like, but it it opens you in a way that tells people I am allowing myself to be seen by you, and that is something that we don't do enough in this world. We walk
Mm.
around. I think you were earlier telling me a story about the mask and what it is with the mask. I would love it if you shared that story.
Yeah. So in NLP, there's a famous story about the guy who is depressed, and he goes out and he's walked by the shop one day, and he sees this clown's mask in the window, and he goes in and he buys it and he puts it on, and people start smiling at him, and people start laughing at him, and that makes him laugh behind the mask and makes him smile behind the mask. Whereas when he's not wearing the mask, that's not happening. People are just walking by him. But because he starts wearing the mask, people start to smile and and he gets a great kick out of this. So the next day he goes home, takes the mask off, he goes to bed, and he feels a lot better in himself, right? The next day he gets up, he puts the mask on again, and he goes out, he does exactly the same. And this carries on and carries on until eventually one day he can't get that mask off. Okay. So what happens is that we wear so many different masks in our lives. We all do. I've done it for all my life, for many, many years, before before I done my master's in NLP, because that changed everything. And I can explain that in a little bit more detail to you. But we all wear masks throughout our lives because we don't want people to see what we're really feeling. So what happens is when we take that mask off and we let people see us for who we really are, they're going to warm to you. And if they don't warm to you, my attitude to that is, well, it's their loss. It's not my loss.
Right.
You know, so this is where you have to stop wearing masks in your life, and you just got to be who you are, because you have to be comfortable in your own skin you have to be able to be proud of yourself and be able at ease with yourself before you can be at ease with anyone else or help anyone else, because it, as I said earlier on, it has a ripple effect. So the whole idea here is that, you know, in order to be kind to people, you have to be kind to yourself, and
So
don't beat yourself up, you know, and don't beat yourself up on the silly things, because really, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter. The most important thing is your happiness and the happiness for people around you, and to be kind. And when you are kind, it comes back at you tenfold, tenfold. It's incredible, you know, and you get it from places that you don't think you're going to get it from. but it does happen, and it really does. And I'm a firm believer in it. I spent many years, I couldn't read or write till I was 12 years of age, and I always had a hang up, always thought I wasn't good enough, um, and the other bits and pieces. And it was always a big hang up with. And I then went and done the NLP boot camp, and then I done a practitioner's course in it. And I remember, and I was saying this to you earlier on, that I'd done the practitioner's course, and halfway through the week, it was a 7-day intensive course, 12 hours a day, really, really intensive. The reason why they do that is because they're trying to get into the subconscious mind and not the conscious mind. So if you talk about the subconscious and the conscious mind is 7%, and your subconscious mind is 93%. So the conscious mind is what makes you put one foot in front of the other, but your unconscious mind is the one that says, okay, remember, you need to put your left in front of your right in order for you to move. So that's the reason why. So with NLP, the idea is to get into your subconscious mind. So that's why the course is intense. But I remember on the Wednesday, the person that was teaching us actually said to us, I can't get to you, Al. And we done a bit of work and whatever, and we done a bit of bits and pieces, which I won't go into. But basically, I cried for about an hour after that because I just let go of everything. I took that mask off that day. But what I done was I literally cried for an hour. But the next day I woke up, I was changed. I was a different person because I wasn't having to carry that around with me. So I'm saying that to people who are out there now, Tracy, is and who are watching this, is I'm not expecting you to, let go of everything, because you can't. You can't do that. It's physically impossible, mentally impossible to do. But let go of small things, because with everything that you let go and everything that you stop worrying about, the smaller they get, and then you become more at ease, and you become more able to enjoy what you do. And I'm not talking about work, I'm talking about life.
Right.
Take that time out, take stock, stop running to the next thing. Give yourself 5 minutes. If you feel like sitting down and having a coffee or reading a book, do it. Do it, because whatever you're running to meet will still be there when you're finished.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so you have to give yourself time, but change your state of mind. Once you change your state of mind, you can change others. It's so important.
100%. As I was saying at the beginning, I feel so much that I learned from our group. I learned from you, and it's not just because from business. In fact, I do learn some there, but that's the least of it. I learn from the presence that you bring and the spirit that you bring and the growth. When we were talking earlier, I've gotten more self-confidence from being around you. I've shared my vision and my dream for this, and much of how it's come to fruition has come from the group. In fact, you really helped me make it happen. Like I was saying, I wanted to do it, and you were very much the encourager that was like, just go do it, make it happen. And I appreciate that very much. And
But with that, Tracy, when you're talking about it, I said to you, go and do it. You knew you could do it, but you needed someone to just give you that little push and that little help and say, yes, you can do it, because I didn't switch on the camera today. I didn't switch on the camera and all the other interviews you've done. You've done it. So you took that step. You changed your state of mind and said, yeah, of course I can do this. And I'm going to enjoy this. And it's going to bring me joy, but it's also going to bring others joy. And that's exactly what you do. And you do that on a daily basis, in the group. Like we were talking earlier on, you were saying, oh, not just in business, but in life. I mean, but it's also as well in business because it's every part of your life, because it will make it better. I negotiate with people much better now. When someone before might have said to me, no, you're not getting that contract. Now I ask why. And I say, well, why am I not getting it and that other person's getting it? What's the difference between me and them? Say, oh, well, they're this. And say, okay, but do they bring this to the table? Do they bring that? And then all of a sudden, so you're able to change the state of mind of not being defeatist to saying,
Right.
no, hold on a minute now. Give me another chance. Let me come back and let me talk to you. Yeah, and I think that's a key important part. And that's not just in business, that can be in life, whether that's friends, family, you know, whatever it may be, you will find that way. So it's really important that you believe in yourself before anyone else will believe in you.
Well, thank you. And I agree with you too. And it comes to the mindset, and I think it is downplayed a lot to have this positivity mindset. And we were talking about the Pollyanna, and you're talking about negotiating, and people often think, oh, you have to go in with the killer instinct. And I feel like we come in with a what if, an add-on, rather than, okay, well, why didn't I get it? Because I carry this with me. Did you consider this? These are positives. Instead of looking to kill the competition that way, we're just saying, well, did you consider this? We bring this. And that's doesn't have to be at the expense of anyone else. You
No.
can bring all of this positivity and still be someone who seeks out good for themselves. No one is asking us to live a life of lack. We're just saying that we don't have to have abundance at the expense of others. I believe that there is abundance available to everyone, and I want everyone to be finding it for themselves. And,
Mm.
and that's just such a different mindset. And when you live in the mindset that there is limited value to people, that there's only worth for a few, and you have to claw for it to show you that you are enough. It's not just a matter of thinking there's only we hear the lack of things. We know the abundance theory, that there's only enough things for people.
Mm.
We've heard that a lot. But I think worse, there's this idea that there's a lack of abundance of worth, of value, that there's only a certain amount of people that are worthy. And I just don't subscribe to that. I just really believe everybody on this earth has a purpose. And if they're not feeling good, if they're not feeling happy, then what they need to do is be coming into themselves and finding the things that feel valuable to them, that make them feel good and valuable, and that will help them find their purpose. But it's not that they don't have a purpose. It's not that they're not valuable, but that our society has told them that there's just this limited few that are cool and valuable and beautiful. And I just don't subscribe to that this king of the hill thing. And so that's where, to me, why the smiles do change the world, because
I
you
think
smile at one of them and you may have literally saved them their life that day. You just don't know what that smile, that hello, did for them.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we've sort of learned from COVID and the pandemic, that has been a positive. And I know there's been very little positives out of it, but I think the one positive that we can take is that people stopped and people took stock of themselves, of their life, of their friends, of their families. And it was the only thing in this world, out of everything that I've lived through my lifetime, is that we all were going through the exact same thing at the exact same time. was like someone came, and I always use the analogy of someone came and just got one huge blanket and just threw it over the world, and we were all underneath it. We were no different. Black, white, green, yellow, pink, blue, whatever color, whatever creed, whatever person you were, we were all in the same boat. And I think what it done was is it made us all stop and think, because life was getting out of control, and we were forgetting about the person who was next to us. We
Agreed.
weren't spending that time. So what it done was is it made us stand back. And at the start, everyone would say, "Oh, this is great. I have a week off and whatever." And then all of a sudden, you had 2 years off, and and that's when people were starting to find it hard and find it tough. And like I lost my dad just after COVID because of it, and that was sad because, but I know he would have lived a number of years on from that if it hadn't been for COVID. But what it done was it just broke him, because he was a man that used to walk, get out and want to go for a walk or go to the shops and get his paper or whatever it may be. And that was his out. That was his mental state going, yeah, well, I have that to look forward to in the morning. And he was regimental about doing it, but he couldn't do this. So what it does is, I think it has made us stop. It's made us think, and it's made us be more human.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a big change in a lot of people. And I'm not just talking about people that I know, it's like in people. I've seen it. I've seen it when I've watched programs or watched interviews or whatever it may be. And people are speaking differently. They're not going, oh, get out of my way. You know what I mean? I'm sure with you. And when people look down on other people, and I say this to the people that do that, is someone's looking down on you. How do you feel? How do you feel when that person looks down on you? And then think about it when you're looking down on that other person.
Right.
How does that make them feel? And think about this. And this is what I'm talking about. It goes back to these simplistic things of being kind, smiling, saying hello, giving people the time of day, having manners, and looking after the person who's next to you. You may be a complete stranger, but the same token, they're your friend. And I think that's the simplest thing, because you just, as someone said to me before, and I think it's a great saying, is the person that's standing next to you is your friend. You just don't know that yet.
It really, I agree. There were several things that came out about Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers,
Mm.
during the pandemic. And basically, if we adults lived by everything that we wanted Mr. Rogers to teach our children, we'd be okay.
Oh yeah.
And that's actually
But
one
there
of the
has to.
things he literally said was, is the stranger is just a friend you don't know yet. That was one of his phrases. And if we abided by all the things that Mr. Rogers was teaching our children, the world would be a really kind and happy place.
But there has to be a yin and a yang to make it work. Because when you have a yin and a yang, sometimes it's out of balance. But if you can get them to balance, oh my gosh, it's a totally different thing. Don't look up to people or look down on people. Look across them.
Yes, and it's so true. I think you're right though about the pandemic. I do know of several silver linings, and I've said, well, obviously I wouldn't have chosen it to happen. I got time with my teenagers that I would have never gotten, and I do think that many of us went, wow, time is a precious thing, and people that we know and love are lost and have been lost, and we have to grab hold of them. So it's a good reminder that Nothing is
How many,
guaranteed.
yeah, how many people do you know that had COVID, that their loved ones or their friends looked after them, and the person who had it says, "Oh my gosh, I would have been lost without such and such. Oh, they were so kind to me. They were so good to me." And it's quite sad in a way that it took that for people to say that. But I think what's happened is the ripple effect of what we were talking about earlier on has carried on, because now people care for each other
Yeah.
because of this, and they've already sort of grown in relationships and grown in friendships because of it, and have a deeper understanding of how the people are, how everyone is, or who that person is to the next. So it's, see, this is the way my mind works. I don't just think straight. I think the whole lot of it, and I go, hmm. And it's only when you sit back and you think about these things that you actually start to go, yeah, I think we're living in a better world than we were, you know, 4 years, 5 years ago. You know, I know we had. Look, I'm not saying like I've had friends of mine, I've had relations of mine who passed away from COVID, and I'm not saying that that was a good thing. Oh Jesus, it,
I understand.
by no means, I'm not saying that. Like ideally, I wouldn't have wanted it, but you know,
But
I'm
lessons
a
can be
very,
learned, and
yeah, and I think you have to have it. There has to be, for every negative in your life, there's a positive. Even if the negatives, and well, that's not going to happen to me again because I'm going to remember not to do that again. That type of way. So that's the positive you take out of it. So for every negative in your life, there is a positive, and it can be the simplest of things.
and that's why I had you on the Pebble. Look at that. Like, see how it's, see, guys, that's why Alan was a guest on the Pebble. Look how he brought that around so perfectly for me. And that's exactly right, is that we can't avoid negatives happening in our lives, but we can look for the positive. And sometimes we have to work at it, but it's not easy. Neither Alan nor I are Pollyanna, but we believe in it. This is intrinsic to who we are. So Alan Henessy, thank you for being a delightful guest and my friend. And I will be sharing all of Alan's handles and where you can find him in the caption below. And I definitely want you to look him up and get his book. And I think it's definitely worth looking up more about you say it,
Linguistic,
linguistic.
neuro-linguistic programming.
See, I messed
and
him up because I
and
messed it up.
and NLP. But Tracy, can I just say it's a pleasure. I'm honored to be a guest on the show, but also I've watched all of the other episodes and they are just phenomenal. And you are a phenomenal person. And keep doing what you're doing, because the more you do that, the more people will learn and more people will get joy from it. So thank you for being who you are today.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching The Pebble. And I appreciate your time. And if you've enjoyed it, I hope you'll subscribe and keep coming along for the ride. And have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye now.